Hi, my name is Sienna Marino, and I will be singing You Will Be Found from Dear Evan Hansen. It's a message of hope. Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear? Well, let that lonely feeling wash away. 'Cause maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel small enough to stand, you can reach out your hand. And oh, someone will come running, and I know will take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. When your head look around, you will be found. 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 There's a place that we don't have to feel alone. And every time that you call out, you're a little less alone. If you only say the word, from across the silence, your voice is heard. And oh, oh.
Oh my goodness. That was so beautiful. Thank you and welcome. Pathways to Peace is just so honored and delighted to bring you Youth Speak. This is our 4th year where we have turned the CSW event over to our Pathways to Peace young peace builders, to be able to create an event that has meaning to them. We're so honored and delighted you're here, whether you're joining us live on the Zoom, whether you're joining us through our Facebook live stream, or whether you're watching this recording. We totally appreciate your love and support being poured out to our young peace builders. I always say that wisdom isn't measured by age, and you are going to hear incredible wisdom today. So we have some thank yous, not only to all of our presenters, but also to the people who are providing tech for us, our lovely Emma, who is herself a Pathways to Peace young peace builder, and the Reverend Becky Suzik, who is just our ongoing supporter, our spiritual advisor, and our tech support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The song that you came in on was from our beautiful partner, Gary Malcolm, and it was called The Science of Love. And of course, we were blessed with another of our youth singing Sienna Marino with that beautiful opening song. And now, because we know you're here to hear from our youth, we won't take a lot of time. But let me say that the students you're going to hear from, who are middle school and high school youth, and very dedicated to peace building, but they didn't get here by themselves. They had lots of help, training and mentorship, and permission to bring their voice to this platform. And so I'd want to do a shout out to Mr. George Anthony and Mr. Rachman. And in just a moment, we're going to be able to hear from the principals of the schools that make this happen. So without any further ado, Mr. Anthony, will you take it away? You're muted, George. There you
Okay,
go.
great. Thank you. All right. I was clicking. So welcome all. And as you said it uh, uh, prophetically, yes, it's the kids are amazing. The students are amazing. They are our partners in peace. And what you will hear tonight is powerful narratives that they own, they create. It is their vision. And one thing we believe here at Pathways to Peace is to provide those platforms where students can come in as our partners in peace. And they are equal partners in peace because not only are they our leaders tomorrow, but they are our leaders today. And it's important that we are there to support them in that cause. And it's individuals like Dr. Tawhid Rahman, who has probably one of the most prolific Model UN programs in the country. These kids, these students of his are a testament to his leadership, and you will see that in there. And then we have individuals like Principal Nelson Ruiz, who has that vision, who carries that vision every day into that building, into our state. And he's a firm believer, and it's been such a privilege to work with Principal Ruiz with this amazing group of students. And then we also have Dr. Vanessa Pereira at Red Bank Catholic, who also is a visionary, a global visionary who's been around the world and shares that passion for leadership. And her students reflect that in everything they do. So yeah, Pathways to Peace has been blessed. It is a blessed community. And with that, I would like to turn this over and introduce you to first Principal Ruiz, who would I'd love to give him the platform to briefly share his vision as well as his success at the Newark School of Global Studies. Principal Ruiz.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Anthony. It's excited, really excited about being here this evening, but more excited about the continued partnership with our students and our faculty. You mentioned Mr. Rahman. He's a true leader in that work. But ultimately, we're just trying to make sure that that the students feel supported, that there's that sense of justice for all, and then specifically for women and all girls. Those on the call, I hope you feel that, and whether you feel it in your school, your community, we want to make sure that's that level of access. We want to bring that level of inclusion and equity, and that can't happen unless all of us are here speaking, presenting our ideas, forming ideas, collaborating, reaching out, and being able to reach out and make branches. So I appreciate the fact that through the projects that we've done, we've been able to connect a little bit with local and community-based organizations, but other schools. So I appreciate the collaboration that Red Bank Catholic has afforded us, and principal under the leadership of Principal Pereira and Mr. Anthony being that bridge, because it's through those bridges and through these experiences that I feel really confidently that our students will kind of take this level of thinking of being peace builders, to being solution-oriented students, to looking at the world as one person can definitely make an impact. And the ideas can live within us, but it's going to be through your leadership and your ability to take that to another level that provides us the sense that the world can not only learn from its mistakes, but it can build one that's even better for the day tomorrow. So thank you, Mr. Anthony. And I can't say enough about that work. And to Sakaya, to everybody else and everybody that made tonight possible. It's an honor to be a part of this, and it's an honor to have this platform. And so I want to wish the presenters and everybody tonight the best of luck.
Thank you, Principal Ruiz, and thank you for that. And yes, we feel that spirit. We feel that every day, that support every day, and we all benefit as a community because of that. I'd like to now introduce you, Dr. Vanessa Pereira. As I said, she is a global hero and a proponent for leadership. Dr. Pereira, thank you for joining us, Red Bank Catholic. You have to unmute. I can't hear you.
Okay, how's that?
Yes, we got it. Very good.
Excellent. Okay, fantastic. So thank you, George, and thank you for the opportunity to join you all tonight. I am going to piggyback a little on Principal Ruiz and talk a little bit about how proud I am of our students, all of the students, for their hard work and their dedication and their interest. I absolutely love the theme, equal voices, equal rights, because it reminds us that peace is not simply the absence of conflict, right? True peace is built when every voice is valued, every person is respected, every community is given the dignity it deserves. And when young people engage in these conversations as eloquently as ours do about equity, about human rights, about global responsibility, our students are actively shaping the world that they want to live in. And so I, especially want to recognize them for working so hard on preparing their presentations tonight. And I also want to give a shout out to their teacher, Gary Gleitz, and to you, George, in working with Gary and our students so in such a dedicated way. Their voices are so important. And so on behalf of Red Bank Catholic, I couldn't be prouder of the opportunities that our students have in being part of this Pathways to Peace Club. I had the opportunity to travel with them and you, George, to the UN in the fall, and it's all very impressive. And yes, I have done a little bit of traveling, and when we combine traveling with some leadership, and then we carry it into our schools, it really makes for an amazing career. And so I am blessed. So thank you for having me here tonight, and I wish everybody the best of luck as well.
Yeah, thank you. And now it's time for us to turn this program over to the student peace builders, the representatives of Pathways to Peace. And so I'm going to turn it over to tonight's youth moderators. And by the way, we had a 2-hour program and we were told to bring it into an hour and a half through CSW. We're going to go a little over that, but we hope you'll stay with us. It will be worth it. And so, moderators, let's bring you up. And go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Jada Lee. I'm a senior at the Newark School of Global Studies, and as I approach my journey to college, I hope to become a journalist and major in international relations and keep my partnership with Pathways to Peace to promote equality and peace for all.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Akinlabi. I'm also from the Newark School of Global Studies. I'm one of your moderators today, and I'm really excited for today's meeting, and I hope we all take away something and help build on Pathways to Peace. Thank you.
My name is Via Schultes. I'm representing my school, Red Bank Catholic. I'm in 10th grade and hoping to change and to make a change in the world via the UN. My focal point is about women's education and equality.
Hello, I'm John Williams Ewa. I'm a Red Bank Catholic sophomore, speaking on how the patriarchy is systematically embedded into modern society. And I hope to become a doctor to help those in need without bias and without any type of discrimination.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So now our first speaker will be Jada Lee, one of our moderators. We'll be speaking about the effects of areas of conflict on the education of young girls. So please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you, David. So, like David mentioned, tonight I'm going to focus on the effects of areas of conflict on the education of young girls. So, first, I want to start with something for everyone to think about, and that is that in affected by conflict, girls are twice as likely as boys to miss school. Now, imagine that half of the young population in some regions is being denied the chance to learn, grow, and shape their future simply because of circumstances beyond their control. Education is not just about reading or writing, it's about opportunity, empowerment, and resilience, and yet in conflict zones, that right is often stolen. Today, I want to walk you through how conflict affects girls' education, why it matters for the world, and how we can invest in education to promote peace and gender equality. This ties directly to three Sustainable Development Goals: SDG 4, which is quality education, SDG 5, gender equality, and SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. By the end of my presentation, I hope we can all see why educating girls is not just a moral duty, but that it is also a strategic investment in the future of our societies. Let's start with the most immediate impact of conflict: schools being destroyed or closed. Think about it. School isn't just a building, it's a safe space, a place to learn, a place to connect with friends, and sometimes the only place where children get food and support. In South Sudan, for example, 76% of girls are out of school. In Afghanistan, over 55% of girls aren't attending school. And in Chad, it's more than 50%. These statistics are shared by the United Nations Children Fund. This matters because the absence of girls in school isn't just about missed lessons. It is about missed opportunities for personal development, social interaction, and future income. When families are displaced due to conflict, sending a daughter to school may feel unsafe or even impossible. Often boys continue schooling because their education is prioritized while girls are kept home for their safety. I would like to ask you all, how many of you remember feeling safe and supported in school? Now just imagine losing that at 10 or 12. The impact is lifelong. Conflict doesn't just destroy schools, it creates new barriers for girls. And when families face insecurities, they often make decisions to protect their daughters, sometimes by keeping them home or arranging early marriages. Unfortunately, these protective measures often limit girls' futures instead. For example, in the Sahel region, recent reports from the United Nations officials state that 1 million girls are currently out of school due to violence and displacement. And it's not just about school attendance. In conflict zones, gender-based violence rises sharply and domestic labor expectations increase. Girls are expected to help with chores or care for siblings while boys continue education. This reinforces cycles of inequality and poverty. Now, if we continue to let conflict push girls out of school, what kind of society are we building? One where half of the population is excluded from contributing fully. And another key factor is economic strain. Conflict creates poverty, and when resources are limited, families must make impossible choices. Often, boys are prioritized for school because families see them as future earners. Girls, meanwhile, stay home, cook, clean, fetch water, or care for siblings. All critical word, but unpaid and unrecognized. This isn't just theory, because research shows that in Syria and Yemen, families in refugee and displacement settings often pull girls from school to help the household survive. The consequences of this are straightforward. Girls miss out on an education, which reduces future income potential, and the cycle of poverty continues. It's a vicious loop. Poverty leads to a lack of education, which leads to continued poverty. Now, here's the hopeful part. Education is one of the most powerful tools we have to break the cycle, without a doubt. When girls stay in school, they are more likely to delay marriage and have healthier families. They are more likely to participate in the economy, and they bring stability and resilience to their communities. For instance, studies in post-conflict Liberia showed that girls who had access to education were more likely to participate in rebuilding their communities, promote peace, and advocate for equality. Education doesn't just benefit the individual, it benefits entire societies. And by empowering girls, we reduce violence, strengthen governance, and foster sustainable development. Now, to recap, one of my four most important points of my presentation is that one, conflict destroys education systems and girls are hit the hardest. Two, gender-based barriers like early marriage and domestic labor pull girls out of school. Three, economic strain forces families to prioritize survival over girls' education. And four is that education is a path to peace and empowerment, creating resilient individuals and stronger communities. Our challenge is clear, and that is that we must protect and promote girls' education, even in conflict zones. It's not just a moral responsibility, it's a smart investment in the future of humanity. And we should all remember that educated girls are not just the future leaders of their communities, they are builders of peace, equality, and opportunity. So the next time we hear about conflict zones, I encourage everyone to not only think about destruction, but also about the millions of girls whose dreams can still be preserved with the right support. Thank you.
Thank you, Jada, for those powerful insights. Your points really highlight how conflict can, really affect girls' access to education and future opportunities. Now, my name is David Akinlabi, and I'm one of your moderators for today's discussion, as said earlier. It's an honor to be here with all of you as we speak about equal voices and equal rights. Today, I want to talk about the legal barriers for education to women. Today, I want to talk about the legal barriers to education for women and girls. Let's start with a number. 129 million. According to UNICEF, that's the number of girls around the world who are currently out of school. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack ambition, but because laws, policies, and cultural expectations and weak enforcement system prevent them from accessing something that should be basic human right. Education. That's not a capability crisis. It's a structural and legal crisis. Education is the most powerful tools for social progress. Research from UN Women and the World Bank shows that when girls are educated, child marriage rates decrease, maternal morality declines, household income rises, and entire economies become stronger. An educated girl becomes an empowered woman strengthens her family, and strong families build stronger societies. So denying girls to access education doesn't just harm individuals, it slows global development. One major barrier to girls' education is child marriage. According to UNICEF, again, around 750 million women and girls alive today were married before the age of 18. That is crazy. And studies show that 9 out of 10 married girls are no longer in school. In a lot of countries, child marriage remains legal through loopholes such as parental consent, religious expectations. Even where laws don't allow it, enforcement is weak. Marriage at such a young age often ends a girl's education permanently. And a law that allows a girl to be married before she even finishes school is a law that's limiting her future. Another barrier is gender biased policies and systems. According to UNESCO, only about half of countries have achieved gender equality in primary education, and the gap becomes even larger in secondary education. In some places, girls need permission from male guardians to travel to school. In others, families prioritize education when resources are limited. The system sends a dangerous message that a girl's ambition must be approved, but ambition never requires permission. A third barrier is conflict and displacement. Research from UNICEF shows that girls living in conflict-affected countries are more than twice as likely to be out of school compared to girls in stable regions. When war happens, schools are destroyed, teachers leave, and families fear for their children's safety. Education becomes one of the first casualties of conflict. Refugee girls even face greater obstacles, including lack of documentation, financial barriers, and safety concerns. So a powerful example of legal barriers in practice can be seen in Afghanistan. According to the reports from UNICEF and the United Nations, policies implemented since 2021 have prevented girls from attending secondary schools and universities. As a result, over 1 million girls have lost access to higher education. So when policies restrict girls from classroom, inequalities become institutionalized. And when discrimination becomes law, opportunity disappears. However, there's also progress. Organizations such as UNICEF, UN Women, and the Malala Fund are working globally to expand education opportunities for girls. So these efforts include scholarships, mentorship programs, and safe transportation to school. Also, advocacy for stronger legal protections. Many countries are also expanding free and compulsory education policies to ensure girls have equal opportunities to learn. But progress must continue. Progress must continue. To truly remove legal barriers, we must close the loopholes in child marriage, strengthen enforcement of girls' education, invest in gender responsive education systems, and protect schools in conflict zones. But we should continue including youth voices in global discussions about equality because the youth voice matters. Because gender equality cannot be achieved by women alone. It requires partnership. I stand here today, not just as a moderator, but as a young person who believes education should be a right for everyone. When girls are educated, communities prosper. When women lead, societies advance. And when rights are protected, the world becomes more just. The question is not whether girls deserve education. They do. The real question is whether we are willing to remove the barriers that stand in their way. So if we truly believe in equal voice and equal rights, then we must guarantee equal access to education everywhere. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mia Schultes, and I'm going to be talking about obstacles girls face within the global perspective. Often we are told that knowledge is power. This statement I often brushed off, but found out you are more likely to achieve in any society with higher education, which leads to my Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 4, Quality of Education, and SDG 5, Gender Equality. While I believe there are many factors, more than we can count, about why women are barred and silenced when it comes to higher education. Many women and girls face unsafety and lack of security in their countries. Human rights reports of femicides, women killed by family members, and domestic violence cases being over 60% in some areas were murdered for honor. These things can stop women from going out or being silenced in their own homes. With the rise of the Taliban from 1996 to 2001, when women have been persecuted. One example of lack of safety can be shown in the Herat earthquakes, with 90% of 2,000 deaths that were just women and children alone. Societies like Pakistan, Yemen, Afghanistan, and other countries around those regions have some of the lowest performing education statistics in the world. Another aspect of female education is girls in Afghanistan. With Afghanistan being under the Taliban system, September 1917 was the fateful day where the Taliban actually banned secondary education for women, where 4.1 million girls past sixth grade are denied the basic right of higher education. That means many girls who want to be scientists, engineers, and mathematicians are denied simply because they happen to be born a woman. January 15th, 2022, the leader, Zabuha Mujahid, reopened Hope for Girls Education in March, when they would allow for girls to go to school. But unfortunately, the Taliban retracted this promise and sent thousands of them home. After this low blow and cold shoulder from their own government, there's only been a rise in silencing and eradicating young girls' voices like mine. Now that you have gotten a little information of how government and safety can influence the education of women, I want you to imagine this. You're 12 years old and you're still in school. You have friends and family. Maybe you wish to do something meaningful with your life, just as all the other 12-year-old girls around you. You live happily and blissfully, but your parents are illiterate and poor, so they marry you off to a man twice your age, 30 years old to be exact. You're scared of him, and one night you lay in your bed, refusing to go to sleep. Your mother consoles you into sleeping as the tendrils of exhaustion pull you in. The next thing you realize, your mother's arms that have once wrapped you are now replaced by that man. Your intentions of only sleeping with your mother as you cry into the night is shattered. By 14, you are pregnant. Just 2 years after you've wed, a child carried another child. Now, you might hear this story and think I made this up for effect and to prove a point that has been told by many before me. The sad thing is, I didn't make this story up. This is a real account by a woman named Mina Kanu, at just 12 to 13 years of age, being pushed into marriage and consummation. This, unfortunately, is the real experience that many girls face in the country I ran. Iranian policy is okay with marrying 13-year-old girls and 15-year-old boys. With a guardian's consent, you can be married often earlier, like in the case of Mina. Poverty and school dropouts are linked to early marriage. Around 20% of girls in 15 to 18 left school due to early marriage in 2022. Understanding the issue blocking many women and girls from higher education can make us see the faults in our society and try to fix them. Whether you live south or north, rich or poor, the most meaningful thing in life is connection. And with connection comes knowledge. Knowledge to learn and to see the world through different lenses. If not that, peace wouldn't be something to strive for, but something that does not exist at all. Without the small comfort of reading your favorite book or stressing over an exam, these are the things that are the foundation of change. Why should we bar these foundations from a certain group? As with women's knowledge, as a woman, knowledge isn't given, it's taken for control and censorship. This is the problem. So the next time someone says knowledge is power, don't brush it off, absorb it. Maybe with this foundation, we can empower women's education instead of breaking it down. Thank you. I'm going to be handing it over to my friend John Marie.
Historically, women have been reduced to subhumans, in which their sole purpose was to marry, have kids, and support their husbands. They were to have no further aspirations or goals for themselves. That was their one and only purpose. I'm sure most of you know all of this, and I'm not here to reiterate history. But what's not as commonly known is that these systems still exist and even thrive in modern society. Women globally fall victim to the results of this historical embedding of the patriarchy, most of which remain unrecognized. My name is John Williams-Ewa, a Red Bank Catholic High School sophomore, and I'm here to tell you how the patriarchy has shaped who we are today and what we can do to change that. Take, for example, the SDG goal number 3, good health and well-being. The medical system. Built to respect each life equally, under oath, doctors pledge daily to abide by this and do no harm. Yet due to the patriarchal norm we live under, women's lives continue to be more at risk than men's. There are vast amounts of delayed diagnosis in the medical field in which women have endured grueling symptoms for a prolonged amount of time, all for the sake of their gender. And this is documented globally across all races and ethnicities, with a disproportionately high rate in Black and Indigenous women. Collectively, their symptoms are often misdiagnosed as stress, anxiety, or other psychological issues, as doctors subconsciously believe that women are exaggerating their pain. My own sister spent 5 years in agonizing pain just for it to be taken seriously. The pain got to the point in which she questioned the purpose for living. And even though she's seen countless doctors across 2 countries, there still is no clear answer for her pain to this day. And the little diagnosis that she did receive was only because she lied about the cause in order to be heard. For most of her life, she had chronic pain in her wrist and shoulders, and even was forced to go left-handed because of how bad it got. She knew that if she mentioned her chronic pain, they would think she's exaggerating. So instead, she told the doctors that she fell down the stairs 2 weeks prior, and that was the reason for her pain. Because the pain was acute and not chronic, they actually listened to her because there was an undeniable explanation. They gave her an ultrasound where she found out that she had torn tendons in her shoulders and tendonitis and bursitis in both wrists. If she never lied, imagine how worse the situation could have escalated. If lying is what it takes to finally be heard, then maybe we should question how helpful the medical system truly is. As I mentioned previously, women of color are even more affected with larger rates of misdiagnosis, undertesting, and delayed treatment, which is why intersectionality is so important in feminism. This likely stems from medicine literally being built around a male body. Medical research has traditionally excluded women from clinical trials. Many blood tests are based off of the results of white men, not countering the hormonal complexities in women's bodies, which leads to diagnostic standards being based on a male symptom patterns. And may I remind you that women experience certain conditions and symptoms differently than men, yet when they are tested, they are compared to male samples. For example, for heart attacks, men are more likely to experience chest pain, while women are more likely to experience fatigue, shortness of breath, and nausea. As a result, heart attacks are the leading cause of female death. And now we move on to other research projects, completely ignoring the scarcity of our understanding of the female body compared to men's. Instead of putting our time onto new medicines, let's first focus on equalizing our knowledge of both genders, even if that means putting a hold on male research for a while. It's just not fair or safe for women. One is not born a woman, but becomes a woman, is a quote coined by Simone de Beauvoir, which emphasizes how discrimination isn't based on biological factors, but rather social constructs humanity has institutionalized. Misogyny isn't based on biological factors, but rather social constructs humanity has institutionalized. It's not inherent or factual, but taught to us. We as a society should focus on reshaping our belief set and decomposing our own biases for the sake of women's well being. While most of us believe we are doing as such, there are many patriarchal social traditions that even I fell victim to, and are only perpetuating the discrimination. For instance, the father walking the bride to the groom. It may seem as a harmless matrimonial tradition, it represents the passing over of ownership from the father to the husband. It only further exudes the idea of a dependent woman who could never thrive on her own. Additionally, as a child of a two-parent household, something I've been personally working on is not strictly coming to my mother every time I have an issue. Both my parents work. Why is it fair to place all that burden on my mother when I have a father just as capable? This idea that it's the mother's responsibility to put her goals aside to support her family is incredibly harmful and connects back to historical family structures. My mother deserves a life of her own, and it was unfair of me to expect her to put that aside for my own interests. But what can you do? Educate yourself every single day. Prejudice is so complex and vast and exists everywhere. It's important to be able to recognize it in yourself and others and be confident enough to tell them. Use your voice. Never fret on speaking up for what's right. It's important that every issue is accounted for, even those that seem venial. And most importantly, spread love everywhere, even to those who have wronged you. Hatred builds with more hatred, but love is the only remedy for pain. My name is John Williams Eula. I am a feminist and a man. I owe it to all the women around me to speak up for them. To my friends who excite me, to my sister who guides me, to the only reason I am here, my mother who birthed me, and just all women who have never asked for the injustices that come with their gender. To fight because we are all human and have the responsibility to help each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John, for such an insightful and wonderful presentation. Thank you for adding some of your personal life stories and for the powerful statements that you shared. Now, I would love to turn the floor over back to Newark School of Global Studies and introduce Salim with the topic of unequal partnerships, issues women across the globe face in marriage.
Yeah, thank you, Jada. My name is Salim, and I'm from the Newark School of Global Studies. I'm very excited to be here, and this is my first time doing something like this. So, uh, yeah. So to start off, I would like to create a hypothetical situation. Uh, Imagine you're spending years studying, building your talents, and dreaming about the future, only for you to be told after marriage that your most important role is simply to take care of the home for millions of women around the world. This is not just a hypothetical situation. It is reality that is shaped by tradition, culture, and a long-standing gender expectation. In many societies, women are expected to take on majority of the traditional chores, such as childcare and environmental care within the family after getting married. These responsibilities are important, but the issue arises when they are expected to fall almost entirely on women. In some cultures, women are also pressured to marry at a young age because marriage is seen as the natural or expected path in life. But what happens to a woman's personal goals when these expectations takes priority? Many women feel pressure to pause or even completely give up their careers to raise children or manage their household. Over time, this can take effect on their financial independence and limit their ability to pursue long-term ambitions. As a result, some women feel society only sees them as a wife or a mother, instead of recognizing them as individuals within their own dreams or identities. This is why gender equality is very important, and the Sustainable Development Goal number 5 focuses on achieving gender equality on empowering women in all areas of life. When women have access to education, economic independence, and decision-making power, marriage becomes a partnership instead of unequal arrangement. Women are able to express their needs, pursue their goals, and build families based on their mutual respect. However, cultural traditions still strongly shape the way marriage works in many parts of the world. For example, in many Asian cultures, marriage is not only a relationship between two individuals, it is also a union between two families. Parents and relatives often play a large role in choosing or influencing partners. Because of this, couples sometimes find themselves balancing their personal desires with the expectation of their families and communities. One powerful example that comes from South Korea is South Korea has an extremely demanding work culture where long hours and after work social gatherings are common. At the same time, women are still expected to manage most of the childcare and household duties. This creates what researchers call the glass rule, where many women feel forced to leave their careers after marriage or childbirth. In response, some women in South Korea have joined what is known as the 4B movement. The movement is built on 4 refusals: no in marriage, no in childbirth, and no in dating, and no with sex with men. For many women, this movement represents a way of rejecting traditional expectation, and it also, sorry, and focusing instead of independence and personal autonomy. However, this movement has also had wider effects on society. South Korea now has one of the lowest fertility rate in the world. To address this issue, the government has become introducing policies that promotes gender equality, including incentives for shared parenting and stronger protection for workers returning after parental leave. Another example can be seen in India, where many women face what researchers call time poverty. In traditional households, especially those following patriarchal system, where a woman moves into her husband's family home after marriage, women often take on domestic responsibilities for the entire extended family. Study shows that Indian women spend about 5 more hours per day on unpaid household work than men. Because so much of their time is spent managing the home, many women struggle to maintain full-time employment. The organizations like the Self-Employed Women Association or SEWA are working to change this reality by helping women earn their own income and gain financial independence. These programs increase women's decision-making power within their marriages and shift relationships towards partnership rather than dependency. Meanwhile, in countries like Scandinavia, such as Sweden and Norway, are often considered global leaders in gender equality. These countries have introduced policies like the daddy quotas, which requires fathers to take part of the parental leave. Even in those progressive societies, challenges still exist. Researchers call this the Nordic paradox. Although women participate in the workforce at very high rate, they are still more likely to work part-time and carry most of the mental responsibility for managing the household. To address this problem, governments are focusing on redistributing responsibilities when family encourage fathers to take parental leave, which helps normalize shared caregiving and allow women to maintain stronger career opportunities. So you may be asking, what does all this tell us? This experience of women in South Korea, India, and Scandinavia show that education and job opportunities alone are not enough to achieve the gender equality. Cultural expectations surrounding marriage, caregiving, and gender roles still influence women's choices around the world. Achieving the Sustainable Development Goal number 5 will require not only policy changes, but also a shift in how women view women. Women should not be seen only as caregivers or wives. They should be recognized as individuals with ambitions, talents, and dreams. Because when marriages are built on equality and respect, everyone benefits and families become more stronger, relationship goals become more healthier, and society moves one step closer to true equality. Thank you guys for listening to my speech. See ya.
Thank you, Salim, for that beautiful speech. We definitely learned a lot, and we shall hope to put that to good use in the future. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everyone today. My name is Yani Gautama, and I will be the speaker for this presentation about allowing global justice for women. The main goal of my topic is to help give everyone in this meeting a clear understanding of what the current issue is surrounding the rights of women, as well as being able to know what is being implemented and what they themselves can do to improve the protection of all women lacking the chance to have justice. As of now, I plan on working more efficiently to improve on my studying and research in order to help women that are facing injustice as of now to be able to reach full equality compared to men. However, I and many world leaders through the world are beyond far of accomplishing that goal, as no country has received 100% equality between men and women. Women on a global scale only hold 64% of the rights that men hold. Furthermore, only 4% of women worldwide live in economies that provide nearly full equality, meaning the other percentage of women don't have substantial finances to provide for the lives of themselves and loved ones. As of 2026, more than 1 billion women face domestic violence. 676 women live within 50 kilometers of conflict areas, causing conflict-related sexual violence, mainly targeted towards women, to increase by 87% in just 2 years. 8% of women in the age range of 15 to 70% ages experiencing sexual violence from someone other than a partner once in their lifetime. These numbers aren't just giving data. They are showing oppression towards women who do not have the ability to speak out without being silenced. Going back to my first point of women only holding 64% of the rights men have, the percentage of rights that are excluded are essential for the most basic actions a man could do when reporting a crime or being protected from prosecution. These women are unable to have any rights that protect them. They are all vulnerable, and this is no coincidence. Their leaders, meant to govern over the community, function within a system that was meant to strip them of any freedom from the start. The same is able to be said for previous struggles women have endured through, as they've always been dismissed from history's narrative. It is only thanks to the women, men, and those before and alongside us advocating for women's rights that many young girls are included in shaping the next generation's future. If not for them, many women today, including me, would not have been able to achieve progression within society. There is still a long way to go. However, recent protests across nations have spread awareness of the unjust conditions many women have been subjugated to and made remarkable progress. Modern steps towards justice for women would be the 68 economies that enacted 113 legal reforms, strengthening women's economic abilities. Victim-friendly courts expanding to provide a more safe and fair environment for women and children in sexual violence cases. Reforms to the federal labor law were enacted to allow women to have proper job training and to be safe at work against harassment. And lastly, the U.S. U.S. Office on Violence Against Women has continued to administer and grant programs that are designed to improve the responses of sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking cases. Trying for systematic transformation in regards to allowing women more rights is what allows progression within society, as these women who are now protected thanks to newly found regulation on their rights. After all this, the question still remains of what people out there can do. Here is what I have to say for all of you. For high schoolers like me, I ask you to speak out after school or during school time, no matter of what your peers can say to you. For those who like to be online, like social media, spread awareness of what is being done concerning women's justice and speak out for the unjust suppression of their freedom. And everyone else, I ask of you to spread the word of this as well. No government that strips away the rights of women cannot go on and claim to give freedom to anyone else. Governments that fail women will only fail themselves. For the neglect put on the community's wants and needs will only lead them down. Once again, I ask for everyone to spread out the truth of what is occurring as of now. Progression with women's rights will only lead to progression of society and onto a brighter future. Thank you everyone for your time and patience.
Thank you so much, Yanni, for your presentation and for ending on a positive and encouraging note. I would like to turn over the floor to Noji Reyes with the topic of developing justice systems to combat harm and diminish gender-based violence.
Thank you so much, Jada. And I'm Nelji Reyes. Greetings, everyone. I just want to talk about today about my topic, which is developing justice systems in Africa to combat harm in public and private life, to diminish gender-based violence. So one of the main problems in human life, especially in Africa, is the fact that a lot of women, girls, they're abused from a young age, they're violated, they're basically stripped of their rights and what they can do and what they should not do. Basically, many governments, for example, we have Zimbabwe, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, they basically have a weak legal system. They do not look into the cases, legal cases of women when they're violated, when they're abused, and they never really prosecute the rights of women to an extent. They never really take into account what women have done. They consider societal norms, they consider cultural made definitions. They also consider a lot of traditional thoughts or definitions made in the country or overall transferred to the country or the place. The law in Africa is broken and is corrupt. A lot of what happens to women in Africa is happening because the legal systems in Africa are not being solved. They're not being fixed. There are binding timelines which are not being applied to many programs, many projects. For example, we have the Maputo Protocol. It was the main protocol or project to give women rights and equality in Africa and to give them a better understanding and liberty of when they're prosecuted or when they're going to court, to give them basically rights. But this Maputo Protocol does not take into account binding timelines, which gives the government, the courts, judges, lawyers a limited time to when and by when the cases are to be finished or are to be established as final. And there needs to be a new system and enhancement of the Maputo Protocol of the SADC, which is the Southern African Development Community, which is a model law on gender-based violence in Southern countries in Africa. There needs to be an enhanced version of these protocols. They need to have a binding timeline reform, which allows women to be prosecuted legally with consideration of not the gender-based norms in the country, of not the traditional expectations of women in the country, of not the cultural expectations, but of the legal and righteous equality that men and women should have and share. Life isn't fair, and it is really shown in Africa due to the fact that women are stripped of what they can do. Women shouldn't be forced by people, by societal norms, by tradition, by culture, and by the government to do everything that is expected. There should be a world where women should have peace and liberty to achieve what they are intended to. If you give women an expectation that they should meet, they will never reach it because you're giving them something that they will not want. Women breed our kids, women give our human race, our society, our existence more. If we do not give women equality and liberty in Africa, especially in Africa, but there are other places, but mainly Africa, if we do not give women liberty and equality in Africa through legal process, then our children, the people who will lead tomorrow, our kings who will bring peace forward, will not be born, and they will not cease to know what true equality is for the world. Thank you, and that was my topic, which was developing justice systems in Africa to combat harm in private and public life. I don't have enough time to talk about all my points, but I want to mainly reveal that we should focus on the fact that legal systems in Africa are broken and corrupt. Thank you.
Thank you, Noji. That was a great speech. I'm now going to put our spotlight to Ripon Catholic High School. Our first speaker is going to be Iris Vera-Costa, talking about global perspectives and gender equality to women's education.
Hello. Today, I want to talk about something that has shaped societies, rewritten futures, and continues to determine the fate of communities. This is women's education. Education is often described as a basic human right, but for millions of girls and women around the world, it is still treated like a privilege, something they must fight for, defend, or even risk their lives to access. And that tells us something important. Women's education should be a right everywhere. We've seen this most clearly in the story of Malala, who was targeted as a teenager simply for advocating for girls' education. Her experience shows us that when girls demand education, they are demanding power, and that is why some systems try so hard to silence them. Regarding my previous point, when women learn, entire societies shift. Educated women are more likely to participate in their communities, start businesses, improve public health, challenge unfair laws, and break cycles of poverty. That level of change is so powerful that throughout history, certain governments and groups have tried to block it. They feared what an educated woman could do. They feared her voice, her vote, her ideas, and her independence. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the first elected female president in Africa, often emphasized that her education made leadership possible. In Liberia, women's education became a foundation for political stability and peace after years of conflict. To see both the promise and the complexity of women's empowerment, we can look at Finland. In Finland, a large proportion of political and business leadership is held by women. In the most recent national elections, 46% of members of parliament are women. In large companies, nearly 40% of board seats are held by women. In government, women often hold major portfolios. In recent years, many of the top political positions have been filled by women. You might hear people call Finland women run, and in many ways that's true. Compared to many countries, women in Finland have access to education and influence, political, economic, and social. That access is a testament to what happens when a society invests in girls' and women's rights early. Education opens the door, and educated women step into leadership and shape policy. But even in Finland, a place where women are well represented, problems remain. Representation doesn't automatically guarantee actual recognition, respect, or influence in every sphere. For instance, while women are well represented in many boards, leadership roles in companies still often skew male, and progress seems to have slowed. And when women do take public roles, their contributions are sometimes still minimized, ignored, or treated as less natural than men's. Even when women are educated, their contributions are not always equally recognized. Albert Einstein's ex-wife, the brilliant physicist and mathematician Mileva Maric, likely contributed significantly to his early work. She might have invented relativity, discovered the concept of it. Yet her name is nowhere near as remembered. Marie Curie, a different scientist, made history in science, yet she still faced exclusion and doubt simply because she was a woman. Her story reminds us that access to education must be paired with respect and recognition. While education and representation are essential, they are not the same as true equality. True equality means that women's ideas, labor, and leadership are credited, not just counted. We must remember, educating girls and women is not about benevolence, it is about justice. It is about giving half of humanity the tools needed to fully participate. When we see women in leadership, we should celebrate them. We should support policies that protect access to education for all girls and challenge stereotypes or systems that still diminish women's contributions. and we should value women's voices equal to any man's voice. A society that invests in women's minds, education, and participation becomes stronger, healthier, and more just. As Finland suggests, progress is possible, but that progress requires respect. The politics surrounding women's education aren't only about access to schools, but also about who gets to shape the future. When girls are denied education, they're being kept from opportunities, leadership positions, financial freedom, and full participation in public life. Wangari Maathai, a Kenyan environmental and political activist, used her education to mobilize women at the grassroots level, connecting education to environmental protection, democracy, and community health. Her work shows how educated women lift entire communities. And the issue of education isn't only an issue somewhere else. Even in countries with established school systems, like the United States, women still face challenges such as gender stereotypes, unequal expectations, double standards, the lingering idea that their ambitions should fit into certain boxes. These are quieter forms of discrimination, but they're still discrimination nonetheless. Furthermore, the ultimate truth is this: a society that limits women's education is a society that limits itself. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Iris, for that wonderful speech. I next want to introduce Mary Mulvaney, a Red Bank Catholic sophomore interested in music and has a speech entitled The Need for Universal Women's Healthcare.
Good evening. My name is Mary Mulvaney. I'm a sophomore at Red Bank Catholic, and today I will be speaking about the need for universal, accessible women's healthcare. The date was October 9th, 2024. I had just gotten home from a visit to the emergency room, where the male doctor had brushed off the constant throbbing pain in my stomach as just a menstrual issue, even though many tests had proved otherwise. That visit to the emergency room when I was only 14 brought light to a subject that I had never even thought about before, and inspired me to do more research on the matter of issues in women's healthcare, not just nationally, but globally. This topic relates towards two of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Goal number 3, good health and well-being, and goal number 5, gender equality. If I was frustrated with only a small aspect of the bias I had received, I could not bear to imagine how frustrated other girls like me felt in countries where they were being denied their rights, where they didn't receive any amounts of health care at all, where they were suffering and nothing being done about it. One very major aspect of the inequality between men and women's healthcare is underfunding. In low-income countries, funding for healthcare in general is an issue, but women deal with most of the consequences, especially in the areas of maternal and reproductive health. One country most impacted is Afghanistan. Since the Taliban has taken control of Afghanistan in 2021, there have been extreme cuts made in healthcare funding, specifically for women. There has been a 50% increase in maternal mortality rates. Restrictions on travel force mothers to give birth at home, which leads to complications of both the mother and child during birth. The issue of underfunding in the context of women's health impacts not only low-income nations, but wealthier nations like the United States and the United Kingdom as well. According to NPR, the National Institute of Health's Women's Health Initiative is going to receive mass funding cuts going into 2026. This research program is one of the most important for research on women's health in America. These funding cuts will lead to even more of a lack of research on women's health than previously existing, which leads into my next point. According to an article from the World Economic Forum, only 7% of healthcare research focuses on conditions exclusively affecting women. Women are often dismissed or ignored by doctors and are less likely to be given pain medicine than men. This lack of research and dismissal can have serious consequences such as incorrect diagnosis, missed treatment plans, or increased risk of complications. All of these things impact women's lifestyles globally in negative ways. In many other countries, there is not just a severe lack of research on women's health, but almost no research being done on women's health at all. In Pakistan, many healthcare systems prioritize diseases that mostly impact males, leading to women feeling driven away by clinics and other healthcare providers. Pakistan spends a very small portion of its national budget on healthcare. This means that a very small percent of Pakistan's already low healthcare budget will be spent on research programs for women. This lack of research continues to widen the gap between women's and men's healthcare, leading for women to feel oppressed all over the world. In conclusion, the gap between women's and men's healthcare is a serious issue, and if we don't work to fix it, women are going to continue to suffer every day until changes are made. Women's opinions and concerns about their health are being pushed away constantly, and this happens all over the globe. This discrimination and gender-based bias needs to come to a stop. All women should have access to equal, safe, and reliable medical treatment, no matter the country they're from. By increasing funding and creating more research programs for women's health, these barriers will be broken down and women will no longer face struggles. Thank you so much for listening and have a nice night.
Thank you, Mary Mulvaney. That was a very educational speech. I'm now going to pass the spotlight on to our next speaker, Liv Lamberti. She's going to be talking about recognizing women's roles and achievements across global societies.
Thank you, Mia. Syringes, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, dishwashers, and hairbrushes. Take a moment now to imagine your day-to-day life without these. Fire escapes, life rafts, and leukemia and AIDS treatments. How many lives are saved due to these inventions that we take for granted? Were you aware that all of these inventions that I mentioned only exist because of women? Those women are, respectively, Latita Gear, Hedy Lamarr, Josephine Coutran, LDA Newman, Anna Connolly, Maria Beasley, and Gertrude Elion, and we have them to thank for a better world, one invention at a time. My name is Liv Lamberti, and I'm a student at Red Bank Catholic High School, and when I was younger, I was completely enamored with the night sky. I think at some point I could have told you what any constellation was if you pointed to it. Despite my passion, the idea of being an astronomer was daunting. I didn't know if I was able to do it, but knowing the trailblazing women before me gave me determination to follow in their footsteps. The accomplishments of these women, such as Vera Rubin, who proved the existence of dark matter, or Caroline Herschel, one of the first women astronomers who discovered multiple comets, and so many others, lay the foundation of modern astronomy. And it's not only astronomy that has been revolutionized by women. Think about the list I just mentioned. Modern society would be completely different without the incredible minds of female inventors, scientists, and thinkers. But there is more to the role of women in society. Women have been and are mothers, caretakers, leaders, activists, artists, and so much more. Women have created peace and opportunity across the world throughout history. And today, I want to celebrate these accomplishments of women in our society with you. Because these are matters worth celebrating, and the achievements of a woman is also one of society's, as it allows us to grow and progress as people. Think about women like Shea Bastida and Greta Thunberg, who courageously challenged people to unite in creating a healthier planet by fighting climate change, with Bastida also advocating for Indigenous rights while doing so. And the many women, such as Joan Clark, Mavis Beatty, and others, who worked alongside Alan Turing to decipher the Enigma code, ending World War II approximately 2 years earlier and saving countless lives. And Tu Youyou, a revolutionary scientist who not only cured malaria using traditional Chinese medicine, but volunteered herself as the first human subject. And Hedy Lamarr, a talented actor and co-inventor of the frequency-hopping spread system, who not only captivated many with her presence on screens, but creating the technology used for Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, communications in the army, and more. Where would we be without these people and their incredible legacies, and the legacies of countless others like them? And not only them, but the mothers of every world leader, inventor, and revolutionist. Because the role of women in the world is boundless. Because every woman is a major contributor to society, no matter the role she plays. Now, when you wake up and brush your hair, maybe do some work on your computer, and do a load on the dishwasher, think about the pioneering women responsible for the comfort many have the privilege to enjoy. And then, think about the women such as Mother Teresa, Malala Yousafzai, Nadia Murad, and Dr. Sheila Monthe who fought, and for some even risked their lives to bring others a better life. And the women who championed for peace and equality for all. And then those who sacrificed their lives for their families, such as single mothers, and all those who must support their family both financially and emotionally, because their accomplishments are ours as well, because they are the foundation of our society today. Thank you.
Thank you, Liv. That was so passionate. I would now like to introduce Natalia Jensen, an outstanding Red Bank Catholic sophomore, speaking about women's safety across global platforms.
Hello, thank you, John. Like it was said, my name is Natalia Jensen, and I'm a sophomore representing Red Bank Catholic. Today, I will talk about a topic that is often overlooked by society: women's safety and global dynamics, something that affects millions of women and girls all around the world every single day. Across different countries and nations, many women base their lives around one question every day: will I be safe? For far too many, the answer is uncertain. Women's safety isn't confined to one country, one culture, or one region. It's a global issue that has been shaping education, economic opportunity, public participation, and human rights. Shared examples of my topic will coincide with STG 5, gender equality, and STG 16, peace, justice, and strong intuitions. I will include gender-based violence, economic inequality in the workforce, and the political and legal restrictions of women around the world. Allow me to begin with a personal story from 5 years ago when I was in middle school. It was during a cross-country team trip, and I remember feeling excited to run along the boardwalk and also being proud to participate. As I stood at the line, I suddenly had the uneasy feeling that someone was watching me. I turned around and saw an older man staring directly at me. When I looked back again, a few seconds later, I realized what he was doing to himself. I felt shocked and deeply confused, wondering why he would do something like that. I remember thinking, what did I do? I was too scared to say anything, and because he hadn't actually touched me, I convinced myself that maybe nothing had really happened. Later, when I finally told others about what had happened, they brushed it off, saying I was being dramatic and that nothing had actually occurred. Still, even when I tried to push it out of my mind, it never truly went away. Looking back, I realized that day changed me. It forced me to understand something difficult about the world that we live in, a world where an 11-year-old girl cannot be safe in public. Knowing how this affected me, I can't even begin to imagine how awful other women and girls must feel when worse things happen to them. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 81% of women have experienced some form of sexual harassment or assault. These numbers shape how women live in the world, where they travel, when they speak, and how freely they participate in society. The economic inequality of women in the workforce has been a long-standing global issue. Across many countries, women still continue to earn less than men for the same work, face higher amounts of workplace harassment, and are often denied leadership opportunities. My family has even told me stories where workplaces force women to do inappropriate things for men just to earn fair wages, and they are fired if they refuse or tell anyone. 86% of women fear losing their income simply from speaking out, making many remain silent, allowing the harassment to continue. Beyond economic inequality, women in Russia face serious challenges. Reports highlight concerns about domestic violence, workplace discrimination, and weak legal protections. Some recent changes have even reduced penalties for certain forms of domestic violence. While many women work and contribute to society, gaps in legal protection show that safety isn't guaranteed, even in developed and modernized countries. According to an article by SEPA, the term, "if he beats you, he loves you," has become a disturbingly common phrase for women in Russia. That's not love, that's abuse, and this idea is not only false, it's disgusting. Violence should never be a term used with love, and normalizing abuse like this strips victims of their dignity and safety. No culture, tradition, or excuse can ever justify this. The same article also states that from 2011 to 2019, more than 12,000 women have died as a result of domestic violence in Russia. Each one of those numbers represents a life, a daughter, or a possible mother or sister, a person who deserved justice and love. The fact that so many deaths could occur while society looks away is not just tragic, it is morally unacceptable, and it demands outright and change. Many women around the world also face legal and political restrictions that limit basic freedom. In countries such as Afghanistan and Iran, women have experienced restrictions on education, employment, what they wear, and even their ability to move freely in public spaces. The Taliban has enacted a new law for women in Afghanistan. If a woman is outside her home, she must not be heard. Women cannot show their faces because they are deemed alluring. Young girls have even been banned from attending school beyond the 6th grade, and they cannot even attend universities. Women's beauty salons have been closed as well, and they cannot work in the civil service or the media. I feel so lucky to be able to be here today and given the opportunity to speak, especially because women in Afghanistan cannot speak out and express their opinions and feelings. Many have stated that dogs and animals have more rights than them and are treated better. These policies don't affect individual women alone. They shape whole societies as they limit many opportunities and silence voices. When global dynamics are examined, it becomes clear that women's safety is not only about protection from violence, but also about access to equal rights and freedom to participate fully in society. Women in Peru is a personal topic for me, as my Nona grew up in Peru in a one-bedroom, one-bath house in the Surcuyo district of Lima, Peru. She lived with 5 brothers, 4 sisters, and a loving mother and father who faced their own challenges and struggled to put food on the table. However, life wasn't always easy for her being a young woman in Peru. She made the decision to leave her home country after she couldn't afford to go to a career prep school. So after high school, her only choice was to get married or work with her father selling fruit. So she made the decision to come to America for a better life with her sister. She managed to get a job at a factory where her manager propositioned her, and when my Nona refused, she was fired. She later managed to get another job in a separate factory where her brother-in-law worked, meaning now she would have someone to protect her. One day, she decided to go out to the store to get an apple to eat, and unfortunately, after that day, her life would never be the same. On the way there, she was attacked and beaten by a man, but luckily she managed to escape. When her sister found out, she was furious and wanted to tell the police, but my Nona refused. She knew that because she was a young immigrant woman living in New York City, nobody would care and nothing would change. So she stayed silent. Addressing these challenges requires united international action. Governments must strengthen and enforce laws that protect women from violence and harassment, while also ensuring that reporting systems are accessible, safe, and trusted. Education systems must also promote respect and equality, helping our future generations reject discrimination and violence. At the same time, expanding women economic opportunities. This includes equal pay, leadership access, and workplace protection. This not only strengthens individual security, but also national development. Because women's safety isn't just a women's issue, it's a global issue. Societies that care for women and respect them build more stable communities and a more inclusive political system. When women are safe, nations can be stronger. I'm not just here to describe the challenges women face, but to call for responsibility from all of us. Let's all work together to build a world where no girl has to question whether or not they'll be safe, but what book she'll read or what toy or game she'll play with today. Let's create a future where safety and rights are not a privilege, but a guarantee. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia, for your personal stories and that very inspiring speech. Our last speech is going to be Lila Komanoff O'Neill on violence against women is a global security crisis.
Thank you, Mia. My name is Lila Kamanoff O'Neill. I'm a junior at Red Bank Catholic, and I am speaking about violence against women being a global security crisis. When people talk about women, violence against women, it's almost always described as a private issue, something that happens behind closed doors, something not to talk about because it's an uncomfortable subject, something tragic, but also considered something personal. But the truth is that it's so much bigger than that. Violence against women is not just a personal issue, and it isn't just a national issue. It is a global security crisis. The truth is, nearly 1 in 3 women worldwide, which is around 840 million women, have experienced some sort of physical violence in their lifetime. In fact, 1 in 5 women, which is around 650 million, have experienced some form of sexual assault before they turn 18. That includes sexual assault, rape, coercion, harassment, and abuse by partners. That's not rare, and that is not isolated. That is embedded in our systems. Sexual violence in particular is one of the most underreported crimes in the world. Many survivors never even come forward about it because of the fear and the lack of trust in the legal systems. This means that millions of women are living with trauma that affects their physical and mental health, their education, and their ability to work. It affects their everyday life, whether we see it or not. Women who have experienced sexual abuse are more likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, chronic illness, and economic instability. Violence against women leads to billions of dollars being spent each year due to healthcare needs, legal systems, and support for survivors. That means abuse inside homes and communities directly impacts economic growth. And what a lot of people don't understand is that national consequences become global consequences. When violence becomes normalized in a country, people start to lose faith in their government and their justice system. If systems fail, if survivors are not believed, or if the perpetrators aren't prosecuted, people lose faith in the people that are supposed to protect them. And if that trust is lost, that's when instability starts to grow. Now, on a global level, the impact expands even further. In areas where there is active war, sexual violence is used in a way to intentionally target women and young girls to spread fear and break families and communities apart. Reports from international organizations show that conflict-related sexual violence has increased significantly in recent years in war-affected areas. When women are targeted in this way, it causes families to flee their homes, which causes refugee crises to grow. It also causes international aid systems to become overwhelmed. Sexual violence in one country can create crises that impact people way beyond its borders. This is why it cannot just be dismissed as a cultural issue or a private tragedy, because it has international consequences. Beyond the human cost, the other impact that we can't ignore is the economic one. Violence against women doesn't just break lives, but it weakens economies. Violence against women is estimated to cost around $1.5 trillion every year globally. That includes healthcare costs for injuries and trauma, lost wages and workforce participation, legal services, and being excluded of economic opportunities over time. When women leave school or the workforce due to this abuse, countries lose skilled workers and future leaders. When hundreds of millions of women are unable to fully participate in economic systems, global markets slow down, and so does development. Safety is not separate from economic growth, but instead is a requirement for it. This is why the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality, is so important. Goal 5 specifically calls for the elimination of all forms of violence against women, such as sexual exploitation and abuse in both public and private settings. Because without safety, equality cannot exist, and without equality, sustainable development is practically impossible. If Goal 5 cannot be achieved, then other goals like no poverty, good health, decent work, and peace and justice are also threatened. Violence against women is not separate from development. It actually blocks development. The optimistic part is that prevention works. Countries that enforce laws against domestic and sexual violence actually see lower rates of abuse. Education programs that teach things like respect and consent are known to reduce sexual violence before it begins. Providing survivors with healthcare, legal protection, and economic support can help them rebuild their lives. Prevention costs less than responding to the crisis after it happens. Most importantly, cooperation matters. We can reduce violence across borders by enforcing a strong education in human rights, funding prevention programs, and just internationally taking responsibility. When real action is taken, not just promises, to end sexual and domestic violence, stability improves. I know that I'm young, but that is exactly why I'm speaking about this. Because my generation is growing up in a world where 1 in 3 women will experience violence, and that should not be the standard. If we want strong nations, we must protect the people inside them. If we want global stability, we must protect women everywhere. The question is not whether we can afford to act, but whether we can afford not to. When women are safe, nations are stronger. And when nations are stronger, the world is more secure. Ending violence is not just about protecting women, but it is about protecting our future. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Such wisdom that you brought us, all of our young peace builders. You are all amazing. Emma, can we open up the room to the full gallery, please?
Of course.
So we can see everyone here. Oh my goodness, look at all the amazing faces. We have friends here and we have friends we haven't yet met. I see David Wick, the president of Pathways to Peace, and so many friends that came here tonight. I see Amina, who is on our council. I see Joni, who is our long-term support, and Tammy, who brings her talents to us, and Mike, who is just Mike Raver, who is just an incredible gift to Pathways to Peace. Pathways to Peace is a UN Peace Messenger organization in consultation with ECOSOC and the Department of Global Communications. You heard from our youth their commitment to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and every year we work to get our youth to the UN, and many have been selected as speakers. It's our endeavor, as George said so eloquently, to provide a platform for the wisdom to reach a global audience at the UN and beyond. So every one of you here, even the youth that presented, you probably don't realize how much it means for you to be in this room tonight. That your support, your presence, your comments all have so much meaning to support our youth, to growing into the peace builders that will take over our world. They are peace builders now, and they will become even more present as global leaders, creating a world, as some of you have said, that works for all. So please know, feel in your heart the importance of your presence here with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to our youth leaders, Mr. Anthony, Mr. Rockman, our principals that are here. Oh my goodness, thank you for the work that you do that brings the youth with all of their wisdom to this global table. Thank you. And so in a moment, we're going to close by having our beautiful Mary Mulvaney, who was also a presenter, sing a song to close, and then we'll end the meeting at that time. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to play along with me in an exercise. Are you ready? You can do this. Yes. Okay. So at Pathways to Peace, we say everyone is a pathway of peace, regardless of where you've been, what your discipline is, what your family background is, what your style is, who you are a pathway to peace. So we're going to go through an exercise together, and I want you to look at who's in this room while we do it. So the first part is to say, I am a pathway to peace, with your hand on your heart. Are you ready? And let's open up the mics too, so we can hear you. So you can open up your mic so we can hear your voice. Open up your mic. Perfect. Are you ready? I
am
Pathways
to peace.
Okay. The next one is reaching out your hands. You are a pathway to peace. Are you ready? You
are a
Pathways to
peace. And now encompassing everyone in the room and everyone in the world and beyond, we are a pathway to peace. Ready?
We are
a pathways
to
peace.
To peace. And so it is. And Mary, can you take us out with your amazing voice?
Oops. This is Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth by George Harrison. And I'm not sure if my guitar will work, if you'll be able to hear it, but I'll still be singing, so. Peace on earth, give me life, keep me free from birth, give me hope, help me cope with this heavy load, trying to touch and reach you with heart and soul. My take hold of my hand, that I might understand you. Won't you please, oh, won't you give me love, give me love, give me peace on earth, give me light, give me life, keep me free from birth, give me hope, help me cope with this heavy load, trying to touch and reach you with heart and soul. Won't you please, oh, won't you give me love, give me love, give me peace on earth, give me light, give me life, keep me free from birth, give me hope, help me cope with this heavy load, trying to touch and reach you with heart and soul. Give me love, give me peace on earth, give me light, give me life, keep me free from birth, give me hope, help me cope with this heavy load, trying to touch and reach you with heart and soul. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Bye.